Yep. This little cheese wedge has caused a lot of controversy back in its day. It's really interesting to look back on because I don't really think anybody looks at this these days and goes like, oh man, you know, like, wow, I hate this. What a stupid, stupid idea. I hate this and I hate you for telling me about it. Everybody just kind of looks at it like, yeah, it's the 2DS. Like, what about it? But back in 2013 when this was first announced, my God. A lot of stuff happened this fateful day that this thing got announced. This was around like August of 2013 and Nintendo officially announced, hey, yeah, we're cutting the Wii U's price. The Wii U Deluxe set went from $350 to just $300 and the basic set was kind of like, oh, the basic set was already at $300, and then after the deluxe set went down to $300, Nintendo was like, basic set? What basic set? They were kind of doing a big holiday push that day with press. They were kind of going like, it's just like, all right, Wii U price cut and Wind Waker HD bundle, and here's some dates, and here's our release schedule, all of that good stuff. And then, boom. Nintendo 2DS. The name sounds like a joke. Like people genuinely thought it was a joke. It sounded like something you'd see on like funnyordie.com or College Humor or Dorkly or whatever. It just felt like one of the most obvious jokes you could make when the Nintendo 3DS was announced. Oh, where's the Nintendo 4DS? The 5DS? No, here's the 2DS. Bit of a ballsy name, honestly, because like, you know, the name of the Nintendo 3DS family of systems is still the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. So it's not Nintendo 3DS plus a letter or word or something like Nintendo 3DS Mini, Nintendo 3DS Lite, something like that. No, it's Nintendo 2DS. To be fair, what else are you gonna call it? Naming it Nintendo 3DS is kind of false advertising. There's no 3D in this thing. But Nintendo 2DS may just be a little, you know, confusing. Because Nintendo 3DS means Nintendo 3D screens. Nintendo DS meant Nintendo dual screens. Nintendo 2DS, what does that mean? Nintendo 2D screens? Nintendo 2 dual screens? What? The back of most 2DS packaging always has this tagline of the best of two worlds. I assume that means, you know, like, oh, it can play Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS games. And I gotta hand it to Nintendo. They really do kind of take this system's like lack of features and kind of spins it into a feature. It goes play compatible games, both Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS in 2D. Just the fact that it goes like in 2D makes it sound like, wow. Yep, that was the thing with this. This was a Nintendo 3DS without a 3D display, and because of that, it was insanely cheap. I believe this originally launched at 130 bucks, so that was about 40 bucks off of just a normal 3DS. That was like 70 bucks off of a 3DS XL at the time, and you know, 40 bucks, you know, that's enough for a brand new game. But the lack of a 3D display wasn't the only major feature. Obviously, this design. Some people love it, some people hate it. I remember when this first got released and reviews started coming out, a lot of people said like, this is so comfortable. Honestly, I don't feel it. I think it kind of comes down to like just the fact that it tapers down like on the bottom here, and it just kind of feels like, you know, my hands don't have much to do back here. And just having, you know, like my two fingers reach at the top here, I don't know, it's not my favorite. I will say I can definitely understand why other people would like it. You know, like the buttons are all kind of like that soft feel Nintendo handheld buttons. Kind of hard to explain, you know, there's kind of the soft buttons and the clicky buttons, where these are kind of just like soft. They don't really have like a very audible click to them, but soft doesn't necessarily mean bad. You know, it feels very mushy, but not in a bad way, you know? It's just like, it feels good in the hand. It feels good to press down because it doesn't really feel like you're pressing down on something really hard or something that just feels like there's just an on or off, just like click, and that's it. These ones feel like, you know, like you have kind of like a bit of like an analog thing where it's just like you can kind of slowly push it down if you really want to. I don't know, it just feels comfortable to hit the buttons on these things. But it doesn't feel as tactile, I think, as like other 3DS systems. But it doesn't feel overly cheap. It still feels cheap, but not like in like a super negative way. I think Nintendo does a really good job with their budget handhelds or budget revisions of things where they don't really feel like, oh man, this is the poverty version. No, it kind of feels more like this is just a different style, you know? Like, it doesn't really feel like the 2DS is like, oh man, you only have the 2DS. I mean, sure, some little fucking snobs are gonna say that, but there's a lot of differences between this and, you know, the regular 3DS and 3DS XL and new 3DS and all of those, where, you know, a lot of design decisions and a lot of like different placements of things and just feel overall of things that don't really have much to do with like, you know, how expensive this thing is. They're more so just kind of design differences, and it overall makes the 2DS, while it is the budget version of the 3DS, it makes it feel like more so like its own style of 3DS rather than just the cheap 3DS. But it is still the cheap 3DS. This thing went down to like 80 bucks. And that is like, Jesus. Anything below 100, it's like, oh my God. And the fact that this played not only DS and 3DS games, but all the games downloadable on the Nintendo eShop for the 3DS. You know, you have all the virtual console games, all the eShop games, the DSiWare games. There was so much stuff on here. You can download Netflix and YouTube. It's just like, this is literally like an $80 portable Netflix machine. Of course, when Netflix worked, but still, and you know, it wasn't great on the 3DS, but it was usable. But they made sure to take out literally like everything that added to the 3DS's cost that wasn't necessary. They took out the hinge of the 3DS, and they did this design, which is just one just thing. I think there's a bit of debate with the clamshell design because, you know, the clamshell design, you just, you know, close your system. This protects the screens, but at the same time, this hinge can break itself. So many kids would literally like absolutely wreck this hinge. You know, just stepping on this thing and the hinge just becomes just flop-nado. I think Nintendo tried something different by just removing the hinge overall. Sure, the screens are exposed, but hey, well now you don't have to worry about the hinge breaking. And because of the lack of a clamshell design to protect the screens, Nintendo had us covered. This right here is like the hardest thing I have ever had to find. The official Nintendo 2DS carrying case. I don't know why this was hard to find. It wasn't even expensive. I couldn't find this thing. When the 2DS was announced, Nintendo showed like, hey, we have official carrying cases alongside it. They mainly did that just because, like I said, you know, people were skeptical because of the lack of the clamshell design. They were like, well, the screens are gonna get messed up. And Nintendo was like, no, it won't. All you need to do is get this carrying case for like 13 bucks or however much it cost. And yeah, it's literally just, it's just a carrying case. You have some slots for game cards, and you know, it's made by Nintendo specifically. It's a cute design. It's literally just, you know, like blank with the Nintendo logo just kind of in there. But for some reason, I literally could not find these online. If you want to find like specific carrying cases for game systems, like good fucking luck. I was like, I wanted this one. I wanted the official Nintendo made one. I remember when the Nintendo Switch launched, Nintendo had an official Nintendo made carrying case for the Switch, and I wanted that one. I didn't want the ones made by Hori or PDP or whatever, PowerA. No, none of that. I wanted the official Nintendo one, damn it. And that one was like impossible to find. I only found it at like one specific GameStop. Everywhere else had all these third-party case designs. And that's the same with 2DS and 3DS. Pretty much all you can find now are like third-party aftermarket 3DS cases. But I found this one, and it was used. And mine has a stain, but I finally have my 2DS case, damn it. It does work. You know, honestly, the fit is pretty damn flawless. Like this feels good. This feels good. It fits perfectly. Crack that open, bam. A big thing many people reported on at the time was how this is not actually two screens. This is just one screen with a divider in the middle. I guess that was cheaper. So with all the things they cut back on, they still had two cameras. Yeah, I guess like the two cameras of the 3DS were like integral for many games, you know, games that use those cameras for like augmented reality and whatnot. I assume, you know, the two cameras helps out with that. So yeah, while the 2DS cannot display 3D pictures, It can still take them. This launched the exact same day as Pokemon X and Y, and you know damn well why it did. The Nintendo 3DS didn't really find itself in like a lot of controversy surrounding the 3D display. Obviously with stereoscopic 3D, that's something that, you know, you kind of want to avoid showing to like super young children because of the development of their eyes. You know, not saying it'll fuck them up, but it might fuck them up. And Nintendo was about to release a brand new Pokemon game on a system that's inaccessible to like 3-year-olds. That wasn't gonna fly, so 2DS released. And also, you know, this gave a viable option for people who just wanted to play Pokemon. They didn't really care about anything else. They were just like, I just want to play Pokemon, that's it. Boom, easy. You just get the 2DS. I love the idea of like gaming on a budget where it's just like, hey, I just want to get like the cheapest possible solution to just play a bunch of games. Hey, in like 2016, you could pick up a 2DS for like $80 alongside just a stack of like Nintendo Selects 3DS games for like $20 a pop, or like just old school DS games. The idea of that just always made me happy. The fact that you could just get so much content for like under $200. And I feel like overall, this was the longest lasting 3DS system. I just remember this being there from the moment it, you know, launched to the day the 3DS died. You could pretty much always pick up a 2DS. And they released so many different colors as well. This one wasn't available at launch. This is kind of an inverse of the colors available at launch. They had just like black systems with like, you know, red or blue borders around here. This one was a refurbished one that I got from Nintendo directly, and for some reason it comes with a blue stylus. It's not meant to come with a blue stylus from what I know, but I think it's kind of cool. I think it's a cool little like, you know, like design choice, even though it wasn't. It's just like, oh, everything is red, but the stylus is blue. This little sea green one with a white, you know, general you know, front. I believe this was mainly associated with like Tomodachi Life, but this one's modded for a capture card, and this was my main capture card 3DS for a while. This was hell, mainly because this is where you have to plug it into your computer. So pretty much my finger would be right under there, and if I was playing a game that required the shoulder buttons, I had a giant mini USB cable coming out of there as I was playing it, and I had to be careful. I couldn't shake it too much. If I shook it, then the capture would freeze. This might have led to my disdain for the 2DS design. I do not like this design very much, and this capture card unit may have led to that. Also, I bought this capture card unit used, and it came with an original DS stylus pen. That's all it came with, and I still don't have a 2DS stylus for this model. So, yeah. The stylus has always been just like protruding like that. And then the Mario Maker one, yep. Just in case you didn't know. Like I said, I always love the idea of like, oh man, you know, what can I get for the cheapest but get like the most bang for my buck out of? And even if I didn't really care for the design, it was always the 2DS. I mean, just suck it up, just play the damn thing, experience like thousands of hours of Nintendo content for like under $200. It's incredible. But the amount of hatred this got when it was first announced is still incredible to me. Damn, Nintendo's running out of ideas, like the 2DS. I think they thought like, they were like, oh man, 3D is going out of fashion. Well, we gotta do the 2DS. And they were like, 2D, that's big now, right? I think people were just kind of confused, and it sounded so much like a joke. But yeah, it did kind of feel like Nintendo was almost giving up on 3D, but that really wasn't the case. They kind of gave up on 3D with the 3DS like around the time the Nintendo Switch released. That was when they truly stopped caring, and I don't really blame them because, you know, it was 2017. I mean, like, who really cared about a lot of 3D back then? But this was just giving people options. This was all about just having an affordable version of the 3DS without 3D, so then people that may be more sensitive to 3D imagery, or also just were on a budget, can experience the 3DS. Because the 3D was always optional with the system. It was never required. So why have that be like a thing where it's like, no, every 3DS must have that damn slider. It was definitely a smart move. I think a lot of people bought a 2DS and just that was how they experienced 3DS. I remember I saw some people you know, upgraded from like a 3DS XL to one of these. They were actively like, nah, I prefer how this feels. This is my favorite feeling, the 3DS system. That is insane. It's fucking insane.